Well, yeah. So I'm looking at this Mix Pre 6. I'm like, are we recording? And apparently we are.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people look at the Mix Pre 6 and then there's a question that always follows. You know?
Which is?
What is this thing on?
Yeah, exactly. This is the first time I'm ever using it. And I'm like, I hit record and I heard a little beep.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Corey Coates, drinking tea, switching to beer.
Yep.
Then he comes on my show.
Mm-hmm. Gotta pee.
That's how that's how we're going to start. Let's do it. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes, the only thing I forgot that I'm going to have to do is how to fade. How do I fade out my intro music as I'm recording? Oh, no. Hold on a second. Hold on. Do I really have to? Are you kidding? Oh, my God. See, this is... All right, so what is... I really don't know how to fade my intro music on the Mix Pre 6, Corey. Oh, that was so hard and rough. Wait, hold on. Let me try it. Let me fade it out for real. Yes! All right, this is just for the fade. Ready? Ooh, but too quick.
I faded for you. I just took my headphones off and I walked out of the room.
That's a good point. I should ask the listeners to fade for me. I mean,
could you?
Come on, please. You got a volume knob right there.
I got a knob.
Well, welcome. All right, let's pretend the music is going at a little lower volume, okay? And
right.
and then sometime after this session, I'll have to figure out how, if I'm just only going to use the Mix Pre 6, which is what I'm trying out, which is a sound devices unit, how am I going to fade my music?
I'm gonna answer that question. Am I only going to use my Mix Pre 6? And the answer is no.
Yes. Good point. All right, you ready for my intro, Corey? I'm going to do it quick. Welcome to the Podcast Engineering Show. I'm Chris Kern. I produce podcasts for the likes of AAPD, E+, Forbes, Dun & Bradstreet, and business authors. And every week on this show, we bring you podcast production techniques in a golden presentation holder. Okay.
I didn't know where you're going with that.
I was trying. We talk shop with podcast producers, engineers, and other specialists. I have a background in audio engineering, and that's the experience I'm bringing to podcasting. How can podcast producers and podcasters incorporate audio engineering fundamentals and advanced stuff too? How can you incorporate that into your podcast production so you can, number one, produce podcasts that sound better, and number two, produce them in less time? Of course, Barry's with me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And right now, Barry can't be ever faded or touched.
That's 100% Bear.
Right? He just loves it. Right, Barry? You're having fun? Yeah, he's having fun. So Corey Coates, that's right. He's the chief expectations manager at Podfly. Yeah, baby. Where's my... Hold on a second. Because you deserve this, man. You deserve... Oh, the game show. Not the game show.
Nice.
You want the crowd cheers. Corey Coates!
Too nice.
I started sounding like a wolf or something.
You can't see, but I was doing like the royal wave.
Right? I just
the royal wave where it's like you kind of twist your hand. You don't.
Like, the royal wave. Yes, which I never understood that, but.
Mm-hmm. I was waiting to see what golden delivery system you were going to give us this week.
This is what I usually say, okay? I say, every week on this show, we bring you podcast production techniques on a silver platter.
Okay.
So instead of silver platter, I've said golden goblet before.
Right.
Which is okay. But then I tried to do some golden tray. That's like golden breakfast in bed tray. That's what I meant to say. Right there.
That was my 90s rap name. It was Golden Tray.
Actually, you know what my rap name was? This one, I don't know why, this one intern at Soundtrack, we were talking, we were cleaning up a session or something, and he's like, he called me out of the blue. He's like, G-Money Clipness. And I was like, dude, G-Money Clipness.
Wow. Okay. Nice. I had a problem though in the 90s because I was a guitar player and my initials are CC. So I was like, "Hey, what's up, CC?" I was like, dude, man, don't do this, right? It was just everybody associated me with CC DeVille from Poison, which as a guitar player is really just like a stab through the heart.
Right. That's brutal. Hey, you know who else is CC?
You are.
That's right. But I got
Man,
that.
we're CC squared. That
but
would
I'm
be
a
like
drummer.
Our show.
This is the 4C session. Thank you.
Man, that would be amazing. You and I should go on tour.
We should go. We should do a podcast tour. All C's.
I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. Bring your mixed pre. It's all you need.
Right? If
Right.
I could figure out how to fade music and other things. This is my first time ever trying it, by the way, folks. And I'll just explain real quick. We're going to get to the speed round. We're going to find out Corey's equipment and workflow. And I know you do a lot of things in the box, so I'm interested to hear all about that, Corey. But I keep looking at this Mix Pre 6. So it's the first time I'm ever recording a podcast on it, and I'm actually not recording any backup because I was actually late setting up for this session, so I just kind of, yeah.
We're on the edge.
I'm living on the edge, and I mean, I know it's recording, and one of the things about these high-end, portable recorders is that they're known to be ultra reliable. So
normally, yeah.
Well, but anyway, so normally I would run like some sort of backup. But the thing I'm figuring out with this Mix Pre 6 is how to manage all the inputs and outputs and how to mix and stuff like that. So because the way I produce podcasts and some other people do too is I bring a lot of different computers in and a lot of different sound sources on their own individual channels. And, in podcasting, you have to provide each of those people with a Q mix or a mix minus, as they call it usually. Yeah. So
right.
I've figured out how I can do several mix minuses with the Mix Pre 6, but I haven't actually done it. So anyway, this is a good first run, and I'm happy to check out. I got my RE20 plugged right into it, so...
the one thing I liked about that unit when I looked at it was there's a lot of headroom on the pre's, which is nice, right? Because I'm using a 7B right now, and as you know, this thing's a gain-hungry mic, so normally just going into any old USB interface or anything else is just not going to cut it. A lot of folks have to put a cloud lifter in there, but I tried that Mix Pre with a 7B, and it took it. It liked it.
Yeah, and actually a few sessions ago on session number 70, when I interviewed Paul Isaacs from Sound Devices, we were talking about how there's 96 dB of gain on this thing. But what I found out after getting the unit is that the actual gain knob for each mic pre, it goes basically up to 76. So
that's a lot.
76 by itself is a lot, but it's not 96. The other 20 actually comes from the quote-unquote fader. So I don't know if it's like you can boost, for instance, you can boost channel 1 76 dB with the mic pre, and with the fader you can boost it another 20, but that feeds the left and right. So on each individual channel there's 76 dB of gain, although if you use it in a special case, I guess technically you can get 96.
Right. The more headroom the better. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, exactly. And the low noise is big too. All right, enough of that. We talked the whole session about that. Corey Coates is here.
What's up?
But first, let me take a selfie.
All right? So that's what Corey Coates gets from this show. So let's do the speed round. All right, within about 60 seconds, tell us when you're about to record a podcast session, and maybe make it, I don't know if, well, whatever. I know you record in different scenarios, so just pick your main scenario and tell us, how do you what mic are you using? Where's the mics plugged into? What audio interface and what software are you recording on? And just give us the brief overview real quick.
Yeah, you got it. Shure SM7B running into a DBX 286S. Then I'm running into a Steinberg UR44 interface, and then recording usually in Adobe Audition directly, but often I'm using now the Rogue Amoeba software and Audio Hijack.
Oh, Rogue Amoeba is who makes Audio Hijack, right?
Yeah, I love their stuff. I love their not only Audio Hijack, I use Loopback to do a lot of internal routing on my machines. And additionally, I refer to clients to and use a lot myself the little app called Piezo, right, which is a little call recorder, standalone recorder, record stuff off of, your browser window and stuff. It's pretty nice. I love the way Rogue Amoeba kind of makes it pretty simple, easy to use, and they really get their hooks into the sound of the Mac. So it's kind of like a Mac first, built for podcasters. Great little company. Love their stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so you're using a Mac. So Loopback is on a Mac, probably Mac only, right?
Mac only, yeah.
And what about Audio Hijack?
Audio Hijack, Mac only. So all the Rogue Amoeba stuff, it's Mac only because there's stuff that's like hooked into the OS that can only barely be done on a Mac.
Got it.
And I know you're not a Mac guy. I get it. And I understand too, you hate your iPad. I heard that once, even though now iOS 11 has a file structure for you. But at the end of the day, like it's really... I used to be a Windows guy forever, ever. And I loved that stuff. But eventually, one day, I stopped wanting to tinker with things and wanted it to just work. So I went to Mac and never going back.
Yeah. So this is another thing. How am I going to mute myself with the Mix Pre 6?
Good question.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to probably this year, which it's already, late September. Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be like November. But it's already... fall of 2017, and I know I'm going to have to buy a new production computer very soon. And I'm really wondering if I should do what I did last time, was just, get a really tricked out PC laptop, like, a really jacked up laptop. In fact, they don't even call it a laptop. They call it a desktop replacement. So I'm wondering if I should do that again, because that's what I did in 2013, and it's been working great, or if I should make the switch to Mac. The problem, and by the way, I don't ever remember saying that I hate my iPad. Oh, okay. You know what? I do, because there's my old soundboard app. It used to have to get a sound clip on my iPad, I would have to get the sound clip onto my Mac computer. And this is the only way to get it on there, by the way. The only way. First, you got to get the file on your Mac computer. Then you have to connect your iPad to that computer. Then you have to open up an app, and you sort of have to drag and drop it.
Right. Well, that's actually changed just this week in the new iOS 11 release that came out, because now there's a file folder on your phone and on your iPad. That we've always wanted to get behind the Komodo and know where the files are. Now we can finally.
Wow.
I think it's just the thing, though. Mac has always been like, hey, we don't want to let you know too much of what's going on because there's a likelihood you're going to screw it up.
Right.
And for me, I understand that from my mom's perspective. I don't think my mom on her iPad needs to know what the file system is. It makes no difference to her, and it's probably going to get messed up if she does. Whereas, you and I, we want to go hardcore and geek out. But, the thing about the Mac platform for me is just, again, I needed the machine to get out of the way. And I found with Windows, I did a lot of tinkering. And I always had to find applications that sort of did what I wanted it to do. There's always something weird about working on the Mac because it just feels more solid. I don't know if it's their marketing department. I don't know if it's because it's aluminum. But there's something about working on that machine that it feels like it's not going to let you down. And I have to run on my iMac, as an example, Parallels. So I can run, Windows 10, and I can try the latest recording software and all the different apps and stuff for our Windows clientele. And every time I get a support call and I have to open it up, it's kind of a painful situation because there's the really nice way we can do a lot of these things elegantly on the Mac. And then there's all of the Windows alternatives that we have to kind of work with. So that's always been my thing, is that, if you're really thinking about, hey, what's going to be the easiest way to capture stuff, and make it pretty straightforward. I'm sorry, Mac just seems to do the job a lot better still.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why I'm thinking about getting one. And I think hopefully, if I buy something new, that I'll be, maybe the file system will be a little bit more intuitive. Like you're right about the files. Like I always wanted to know, look, just show me a list of my files. Mm-hmm. And in a Mac, you could never do that. You had to jump through 9 hoops and download 7 things. But so I'm leaning toward Mac because, using Audio Hijack and Loopback, apparently you can route any audio anywhere and record it into almost any program. So I'm all for that. And actually the Mix Pre 6, when I was talking to Paul Isaacs, this thing, there's several USB inputs and outputs to the Mix Pre 6. Apparently you can route, not MIDI, you can route your USB inputs and outputs. But, of course, on a PC, forget about that. You're never doing any of that.
No, absolutely not. And the thing is too, like I think a lot of the developers for Mac, because they come from that kind of ecosystem and that mindset, they tend to put a lot more energy and resources into developing the applications, especially for podcasters, because at the end of the day, the Mac customer tends to be more interested in spending a little bit more money to get software than they are in the Windows world. The Windows world, as you know, it's like Google for ways to do this for free, right? Whereas Mac, go to the App Store and see what's available, read a couple reviews, and buy the software, which means that the developer ecosystem itself tends to be those people who are knowing that these are higher end customers that are buying our software, and we're going to do a better job of it because they're willing to pay for it. And let's be honest, I mean, I can look for an MP3 Skype recorder for free and go through the laundry list of them out there in the Windows world, and then make all the compromises I need to in order to have something that kind of sort of works and does a crummy job, Pamela. Or, I can spend $49 and I can get a rock solid platform that works every single day. And I don't need all of the, I'll answer my phone calls for me and leave a message and send a birthday reminder. It's like, dude, I want to record my Skype call. What is all this garbage?
Right. I totally agree. So I am leaning toward Mac. The thing I'm going to need, and Barry might know. Barry, what am I going to need if I buy a Mac? What am I going to need to actually get it up and running and understand how everything works?
You're going to need a couple of horses or a couple of mules.
No, you know what I need? I'm going to need someone here, I think, to like spend a day with me and just install software and understand how to do things and how to route things. And I know they always
have to make an appointment at the Mac store. You're going to be that guy on Sunday that they let in before the store opens.
Oh, really?
They have you buy a Mac and they have like the Genius Bar runs, these seminars for free to come in and like really super geek out with the Mac team on all the ins and outs of using your new machine, and they'll support you all the way through. I mean, look, I'm not an evangelist for Macintosh and Apple. What I am saying though is that these guys do a lot better job of kind of end-to-end, hey, you bought your machine, we're not going to throw you out into the wild. They'll really help you get everything done. And you'll find as well, I think that the support online for the people who are using Macs, especially the audio engineers, is stellar.
Right. Cool. All right. So your SM7B, let's get into your equipment. Now we're going to actually pick through your workflow and equipment and talk about it. So your SM7B, do you use that big, huge piece of foam thing, or you just use the first initial layer of foam?
I use the little foam.
Yeah.
I like the big foam if I'm going to get in and I'm going to go all NPR on the mic and get tight with it. But for the most part, I find that because I'm running the DBX286 preamp, it gives me a lot of gain. The polar pattern around this is just fine. So, and you know what? That big fat thing is a little too 70s and ugly. I kind of care a lot about how my office looks, and I just don't like it. I know engineers are going, who cares? It's audio. Well, I care because I have to look at it. It's this big black obnoxious thing in my face every day.
Yeah, that big one is huge. And I used an SM7B for years, and what I noticed was because I always like to be really close to the mic. That's how I roll. But the SM7B, if you speak straight into it with just the little, the first little layer of foam that they give you, right? Yep. You can pop your P's and speak straight into it really close, and it won't pop on the recording. But if you turn, like if you move like 3 inches to the side and then kind of face the mic and sort of like so the air kind of hits it like on a little bit of an angle. There's a certain angle. It's a slight angle, but it's like that's when it'll actually pop.
Yeah, so, it's strange. It's really strange. I bought it largely because like I have a drawer full of mics, and I've used them all, like everything from the Heil PR40 to the RE20 to the this, that, the other. And frankly, the reason why I bought the 7B was one, I used to use it in studio to mic up bass cabinets. I loved that mic for that.
Nice.
And second, I just kind of like the all-inclusive, everything's built into the mic. I don't have this wonky pop shield in front of it, and I don't have this strange shock mount thing that looks like a spider's attacking my mic. And it's a clean, elegant setup. And I find, especially with a lot of clients we work with, when we go 7B in their studios, it's just less intimidating. It looks like something they know or something they've seen, whether it's maybe in their childhood, they saw a 70s picture of an NPR host, smiling with a beard and an open shirt and a chain going, hey, here's my mic. Or it's just like, that looks like a microphone, because a lot of the mics that we use as podcasters and broadcasters are kind of scary to people. This is a very approachable, fuzzy, black, unobtrusive mic.
Yep.
And again, I don't know if you can tell, I care about aesthetic more than I do, specs.
Yeah. Well, right. But and at the same time, you're not choosing a horrible microphone just because it looks good. I mean, you're choosing one of the best mics, but you're just choosing the one that you like the way it looks. So that's totally
And look, I'm going to flip out because I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm going to change my mic here eventually, because I've been working a lot with the Shure Beta 87A. So that's like a supercardioid condenser, and it's usually a vocal mic, a stage mic, but the sound quality is beautiful. The top end on that mic is amazing. It doesn't take a lot of gain, but even though it's a condenser, the side rejection is ridiculously good. You can have a lot of stuff going on around you in the room, and it's not going to pick it up. It has a really tight, nice polar pattern in front of it. So we've been putting that in front of a lot of folks lately, and then just plugging them right into like a Zoom H6 with remarkable results. So again, I'm a Shure guy. I've always liked a lot of their gear. Scratch the Motive stuff. I'm not a big fan of that garbage, but I really, really have always liked the tonal characteristics of those mics. And now I'm leaning towards this Shure Beta 87A. It's a pretty great mic.
right. That's a handheld body of a mic. And about how much does it cost?
About $250 to $300 on Amazon, give or take. But there's another one too that Shure's got out, and they're not talking about it a lot either. That's like this dual diaphragm set up in this kind of wonky little isobaric thing where there's like a front diaphragm and then a rear diaphragm behind that, and each one to pick up a different area of the frequency spectrum. So it's got a nice separation so that that single diaphragm might not be working too hard. And I'm going to get one of those. It's silver. It looks like it came from space. It's probably going to be an awesome mic. So I'll go ahead and email the Shure guys this month and say, hey, send me one of these to check out.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that one yet. The dual diaphragm Shure microphone.
Yeah. We saw each other at a conference recently, and Shure was there. And, I think they kind of screwed the pooch. They showed up with their Motive line. And a lot of the podcasters walking around going, where are the 7Bs? Right. Where are the good mics? Like what, I have a bunch of the Motive gear, and I get it. I get it. But at the same time, I'm never going to use it ever.
Right.
And most podcasters won't either. For another $100, you get a high quality professional microphone. Why wouldn't you just do that?
Right. The Motive stuff is USB, right? And it kind of sits on the table, right?
Yeah, and it's nice because it goes into the iPhone, and they've got kind of a janky little app to record and stuff. But I tried really hard to use it for a lot of things, and I did. Like for a recent season of the Podcast Producers, we used them. They're a sponsor of that season, so I did use a lot of their gear in the field. But I have to be frank now that I'm back and doing some other projects. I don't pull them out. They look cool, but I don't use them.
Right. Interesting. All right, you're plugged into a DBX 286S, which is a channel strip, which means it has a mic pre, it has a compressor, a gate, has a couple tone knobs, kind of like EQ / exciter type knobs. What aspects of the 286S do you use?
All of them. Actually, I do a lot in pre and less in post now. It makes it a lot easier if I'm doing the post engineering, and as well when I'm appearing on podcasts and stuff, it makes their job a little bit easier.
Yes.
I don't run a lot of the compression, and I don't run everything super hot, and I don't like crank up my low frequency densities and stuff. I don't go all, I'm FM radio on you. But what I do like about it is, again, headroom. So lots of gain on the 7B because this is a gain hungry mic. And the compressor's nice. It's just got a nice warm drive to it. But more importantly is the gate and the de-esser. So the gate is super valuable. I'm in a WeWork office right now in Montreal, and this is probably the worst possible recording environment you can imagine. I've got a giant wooden desk, a hardwood floor. I'm surrounded by glass and concrete slabs and steel. I mean, this thing is just an echo chamber. So I brought in a little bit of soundproofing and then running the gate as well to just kind of kill anything that's going on around me. Because in this office space, you probably can't hear this on the recording, but there are people talking all around me, here now. And it's cutting all of that stuff out. And equally, any of the additional room noise that maybe the soundproofing isn't picking up, it's gating that out too. So that's one of the things I really like about this is I can go into just about any environment with a very sensitive microphone, and I can really tune the room as well as tune the voice.
Nice. And so you have, I was just looking up the Steinberg UR44. That's your audio interface.
Yeah, I was Focusrite forever because I do like the pre's and I like the portability, and they always seem to work no matter what you plug them into. That's one of the things I really like about the Focusrite stuff is I don't have to do a lot of fiddling to get it to work. Other USB interfaces, not so much the case. But the UR44, I was in a music store picking up some gear, and a guy's like, "Look, check this thing out," and he pulled it out of a bag and he threw it on the floor. And the thing bounced. And he said, "These things are tanks. You should try this out." I bought it because, one, I liked that it had like the kind of 6 in and however many out, a ton. So I plug it in, use it with Audition or Logic or whatever, and I've got like a bunch of channels in with USB. That's nice. But I liked more than that. On the front panel, there were 2 headphone outputs. That's huge. Absolutely huge. So when I'm doing anything here in studio with somebody, I don't have to run to a headphone splitter or amp. I can just go right out of the front of the box,
right,
or do a separate mix if I'm just doing some writing and recording of music and stuff as well. So for me, that was a huge selling point, and the pre sound really nice. But again, guess what? It's, the anti-Focusrite where I got to download these drivers and I got to put in a code that came on a piece of paper in the box to tell them that I own it. And then, I reinstall Mac OS, and then I got to call them and tell them I put OS on my Mac again. I still own the gear. I didn't steal it. Like, who steals a piece of hardware? I don't get it. But anyways, at the end of it though, what I like is I got some command strips, these like 3M tape strip things, and I mounted it under my desk, and it's my main go-to interface right now. It kicks butt.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I've been looking at interfaces too because I love the Focusrite 2i2s. I have 3 of them. Mm-hmm. However, for about the past while, like maybe even the past year, a lot of times when I'll fire up, I'll start the computer and I'll let it warm up, and I'll, and then I'll start a session, and it'll sound like it's way computer distorted, and I'm like, what's wrong? I don't know what's wrong. Weird. And then initially I didn't know what was wrong, but I found that if I just unplug the USB from the computer, just if I unplug the 2i2 for like literally 2 seconds or 3 seconds and plug it back in, it like reinitializes and then it sounds fine.
That's bizarre.
It's bizarre. But guess what I do now? Before I do any sessions ever, I'll start up the computer, I'll let it warm up, and just before I open the session or start a session, I'll actually just unplug the USB for 2 seconds, plug it back in, and when I do that, I don't have the problem. And the problem didn't happen every time anyway. It was intermittent, which are just the worst technical problems to have, intermittent problems, because you can't troubleshoot.
Where in that workflow do you have a coat hanger and you're standing on one foot? Right? But now I use the 2i2 on the side. So I run the 2i2 into my MacBook Pro as a secondary machine, and then I pipe that into like channel 2 and 3 on the UR44. So I'm running the UR44 like a little mixer. And then, I've got the MacBook Pro on the side if I want to pipe in a Skype channel and record it separately, as opposed to doing everything in the box all the time.
Right. So that brings up a good question. So you do have a main computer with the Steinberg UR44 interface. Then you have a secondary computer with the 2i2 interface. But your main computer is with the UR44, right?
Yeah, and then I've got a storage locker full of mixers and preamps and mics and stands and gear.
Right.
I've got everything from Allen and Heath boards to Yamaha boards to, I've tried a ton of stuff, and I move around a fair bit, right? So I need something that's going to be pretty ultra portable and squeezes under the desk and makes a lot of sense for what I'm doing at the moment. I don't do a ton of podcast engineering like I used to do even 4 or 5 years ago. So for me, I really need just a very straightforward setup, but I also need the ability to send out a mix minus to a Skype channel in that event. So I found ways to do it in the box, but it's also nice to be able to do it out of the box because, like, you know, going Skypeosaurus and having a separate channel or a separate machine for each participant, I think is still the ideal.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about that. So when you have a separate machine for each, let's just use Skype. We'll say Skype, but we also mean, you know, Ringer, Zencastr, whatever VoIP software you want to talk about. So you have you can connect through a separate computer, a Skype participant, and that's relatively easy to do a mix minus that way because you just need to, you know, in whatever mixer you're using, whether it's a physical mixer or a virtual mixer in a computer, you can actually create a mix that doesn't have that person in it and send it back to that other computer. But in the box, how do you do it in the box? Is it literally just audio hijack and loopback?
Yeah, it was a challenge at first to figure it out. And the reason why I wanted to do it is that in the event that I or any of our engineers were doing live recording sessions for clients, we didn't want them to have to take around a mixer and a second machine. It's kind of nice to just grab your laptop and go. And so I was looking for solutions to do that. And I was able to do it successfully using, for example, Zencastr and the Loopback to route the audio, Audio Hijack to do capture, and then I'd have a Skype channel running on the side as well with a mix minus that I could pipe in just in case we had to take a phone call or call out to a guest. And that worked really, really well. And what I always do, Chris, is like I set up a completely different user account on my Mac for those purposes so that those are the only applications available there. Like I'm not getting my text messages from my girlfriend. Mm-hmm. You know, my mom's not sending me a picture of pants during a recording session to see if I like them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. All I'm getting is all the gear that I need right there set up and ready to go. And, you know, just laying it out in the window and making it like this kind of virtual studio works pretty well. Is it the ideal? I don't know. I mean, it depends. But if you got to slap your laptop closed and get on the road for a week like I do, like next week I'm in San Francisco all week, right? I'm probably going to have to do some stuff. The last thing I'm going to do is pack up 2 computers. I know you probably do that. I know you probably have a big duffel bag full of laptops and mixers and stuff. I just can't do that. It just doesn't work well for me. So I found that, you know, using the Rogue Amoeba stuff works super well. I've tried to duplicate the process on Windows, and I was using, what is it, Mixer, I think is the program. It's interesting. Again, it's more like a DJ program. It's got a cassette tape on it. It answers your email for you. I don't get it really fully. But I found that, yeah, I'm able to do it both in the box and out of the box. But at the end of the day, the ultimate setup really is doing it out of the box because it's one of those kind of house of cards things, right? If one thing is not working or connected the right way, everything kind of falls apart. Whereas if I got a knob that I can grab or I got a patch bay that I can switch something out, then I'm more likely to have something that's reliable or I can switch things on the fly if I need to.
Right. So you still think even with a Mac, trying to do everything on one computer in the box is still not 100% reliable?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's reliable at the end of the day, right. But it's not advisable if you don't have to. I was looking for a solution because it's like, this is probably the best way for me to go, just to be on the road and be more mobile. But if you can have 2 machines, do have 2 machines, right. You know, even going out and buying a second machine can be as easy as, you know, a refurbished old MacBook Air that you're just going to run Skype on this thing. That's going to do a great job of it.
Right. So in your Mac, in your main machine, you said you could have Zencastr going, and can you also could you do Skype alongside Zencastr in one machine?
Yep. Yeah, and that was the challenge, is that we had a client especially that wanted a combination of guests who could, one, join on like Zencastr as their primary connector. If they weren't cool with that, then Skype would be the secondary because of its ubiquity. Everybody kind of gets what Skype is. And then the third, when you're calling somebody that's over 50, they want to be able to pipe them in on the phone. So we need to have all 3 solutions available to them and instantly, So yeah, we were able to run all those side by side. In terms of the phone calls themselves, of course, we're just using Skype out, and the guest didn't know it.
Right.
But the challenge was piping out to Skype the mix minus, and piping into Zencastr the Skype audio and again in a mix minus fashion, so that the hosts and everything weren't coming back through, because you'd have that echo or fold back. So
Right.
it was a challenge to do, and I used to have hair. I have less now after having figured it out.
Really?
But once I got it, it was really easy. And now I did like kind of a setup screencast of setting this up for clients, and they're doing it. They're getting now, and this is the fun part, they're not getting a mixer at all. I've got now clients who are setting up with 2 or 3 USB mics into one machine with a mix minus, and no interface whatsoever, with remarkable good quality.
Right? So 3 mics into one computer, that's obviously on a Mac.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because it's very, very easy to create these virtual input devices, right? On a PC, I understand you can do it, but on a Mac, it's a little bit more straightforward to plug in 2 USB mics. There's a misnomer out there. It's like, well, USB is great, but you can only use 1 per computer. And it's like, that's not true. It's never been true. You can plug in as many as you want to, provided that your USB bus is going to be able to power all of them.
Oh, right.
Right. You don't want to have, like, I got 6 printers plugged into this thing and all of these other gizmos and gadgets, and I got a USB hub that I bought at Radio Shack. Can I plug all my mics into that? No.
Right.
No, you got to go right hard into that machine.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, because I can see the utility in having a bunch of USB mics and plugging them in and just not even having an interface.
Yeah, because it's intimidating, again, to a lot of people who are trying to get into the space and do a good job with their podcasting and want to sound good. Look, as an engineer, I don't love referring the ATR 2100. I don't. But I do like something, though, that they understand I can plug in. There's an on switch, and the blue light means good. That's good. And if you can plug in multiple of those, because they understand I've got more than one speaker in the room, and let's not crowd around a Yeti, it's going to come out better, right? An interface is just another mess. And the second issue that I have with the interfaces and mixers is not only the intimidation factor, but guess what? The USB interface only tends to have one headphone out.
Right.
So now I'm getting a patch cable and a headphone distro amp, and they have to plug that in. It's a spaghetti incident. It just looks like a mess on these guys' desks, and they don't know what the heck's going on. And it's only one bad knob turn away from them calling us and going, what's happening?
Exactly.
Whereas the USB mics and the setup and stuff, it's like, it's super clean. It's very easy. They understand it. And the odds of something going wrong are a lot lower.
Right. And so 3 USB mics going into a Mac, you're able to record all 3 of them on separate tracks, correct?
Mm-hmm. So using Audio Hijack, I'm able to then assign each mic to an independent separate recorder, like within the program itself. So it's super nice, and it makes it really, really, really easy for them to understand. And then getting the audio files into our studios is a piece of cake from there as well, because we can even configure their Audio Hijack account to be linked up to their Dropbox. So it's just, boom, going right over to our studio.
Interesting. And then Loopback is the other program you mentioned in your Mac that routes the audio internally. So that's the one that would maybe take some Skype audio and send it to Zencastr within the same machine.
Yeah. And I've even used it for other applications as well. So when we're training engineers, or I'm working with production staff in different organizations as a consultant, we'll use something like GoToMeeting or GoToTraining, because it works really well. Everybody gets it. And what I like about it, though, is that, I can run a screencast of me using Adobe Audition or whatever I'm using. Loopback enables me to combine both the audio of Adobe Audition and my USB microphone into one virtual machine, right? And that's what I tell, for example, GoToMeeting, that's my audio output, this thing that I've called, Podfly Studio Meeting. And it doesn't care. It just reads it as an audio device like it normally would.
Right.
On the back end, Loopback is mixing those 2 channels. And I can even split them and do all kinds of neat stuff with them. But again, in a very nice, clean, elegant solution, it works really, really well. And I save it as a preset, and it's an audio device on my machine forevermore.
That is cool. So now when you're within the box, within the one machine to create a mix minus, does Loopback also make that easy? instead of telling like what audio, like in your example, you just said your USB mic and your Adobe Audition session are going through to the GoToMeeting call with a client.
Mm-hmm.
Can you also? Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how. So that's how you do the mix minus. You just say, look,
that's
send
how
these
I lost my hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That moment where you paused to think about how this works, I spent days doing that. Just my girlfriend thought that I had a stroke. I was just standing there, like looking at the wall, trying to figure this out.
Right.
But what I found very effective is the new Audio Hijack Pro. It has a beautiful UI where you're dragging around these modules and then you just are virtually patching them together. So in a lot of cases, what I was doing is, and it was so cool. I just lost my stuff. I wanted to have the audio of Zencastr only going back out to Skype, and I just patched the Skype and the output of Chrome to Skype in Audio Hijack, and just boom, it just magically worked. So, I mean, there's just infinite combinations of ways that you can route just between those two pieces of software. So I'm sure there's a couple ways you can do it, but the one that I found was very visual, very self-explanatory. And again, it's just you save it as a preset and you open it every session and you're done.
Yeah, the more we're talking about all this, I think what would be cool is if I bought a Mac and like literally, first of all, do everything that you've already done, which is awesome. And then maybe even go further, because my next question to you is, what if I wanted 2 different Skype accounts open on one machine? I don't even know. Is that possible?
No, it's a challenge that everyone wishes could happen. There is a kind of a way to fool your computer. One way that I've successfully done it is to have a Skype for Business account and a Skype account. So you get Skype for Business, that application, and Skype. And you can open those 2 standalones if you want to.
Oh, and then in Audio Hijack and Loopback, you can just route one to the other and all that stuff.
Exactly. So it's a little bit, it's a kludge, but it works if you need to do it.
Yeah, because what I've noticed, and the reason I'm asking you all this about in the box stuff, because I think that's the future, right? The future is not to have, like me, having 4 laptops around me and bringing everyone in separately. Through a big mixer and then going out into a 5th computer to record everything, right? In the box is where it's at, but it's just like the way it is now, it's not, well, apparently with a Mac, it's actually kind of easy. So,
well, I don't mind sharing with you either, because we are just about finished our WebRTC recording platform for our clients, because, there are a lot of things in things like Zencastr and Cast that we were dissatisfied with, a lot of controls that we think we should have. And a lot of ways that it's operating that we didn't feel was optimal for our clients. So, we hired a development firm in the States for the last year to help us develop something that's going to be a WebRTC platform for Podfly clients. And the next phase of that is to take that and start integrating it into a more cohesive routing and recording software within the Mac environment, because all of these things can be done by taping together a bunch of different applications. There's no reason why you can't strip out a ton of the crazy functionality in most of those applications and make them purpose-built to all be built into one. Look, we all know what the dream would be. Open this app, right, and it connects everybody. And it's like, oh, pipe this person in from Skype, pipe this person in from the phone, and then everybody gets recorded on a separate channel. That's the dream.
Right.
And that program, that application, in theory, is not difficult. In practice, the reason why it doesn't exist is because the market for something like that is too small. It's just not something you can sell. Now, we've been lucky enough with the production company that we've grown to enough of a size and a capacity that we can justify investing the money to do it, because it's kind of like we just need to build our own solution and then perhaps make it available publicly. So that's kind of the thing that we're at right now, is like, these solutions need to exist, but it's not feasible financially for a developer to put it together to try and sell it to podcasters. It makes no good sense.
Right.
So for us, we're just like, let's build it for ourselves because we need the darn thing, and then see if other people want it.
Right. Yeah, because you're producing that's what Podfly does. If you're listening and you don't know that, Podfly produces podcasts for anyone, really, clients. And so, yeah, you sort of have over the last, probably 6 months or maybe more, been building your own, like you just said, your own Zencastr type software.
Yeah.
And that'd be cool if you could really make something. Obviously, you would do it for the Mac. You would make one piece of software that can just route anything and everything, and then use it internally. Like, so you're willing to make the investment because you're going to use it internally and benefit from it, and then possibly after that you could open it up to the market. But you're not like most companies. They start building something or they invest in something because they're thinking about, all right, who's going to buy this? But you don't have to think about that yet, so which is cool.
And we may never, because we don't care, right? I don't want to compete with Zencastr. I'm not interested in that. I don't want those customer support calls. I don't want to go to a podcast conference and have a guy come to me and goes, "How come you can't do this and why does it do it like that?" It's like I don't know. I don't want to answer those questions every day. What I'm interested in, though, is just providing something that's purpose-built for our client base and something we can iterate and improve upon. There's features that we even experienced in sound setup today, Chris, that I think are beneficial that we built into our platform. Like a lot of folks don't know, like with WebRTC, you can reach into someone else's computer and change their output. You can change their input. You can adjust their levels. How nice would it be if instead of me asking you to turn up your gain, I just do it? I just bring you up, right? That's not a feature. That should totally be a feature. So there's a variety of things that we've done with our platform that make it much more intuitive. So instead of having to ask people to, again, wave a rubber chicken around the room and put some tinfoil on their head and figure out what's next, it's more like, okay, this is just a very self-evident thing that you just grab and change.
That's awesome. All right, next question for you, Corey Coates. All right, let's say
Is that one question? Did I spend 47 minutes on one question?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Sorry. Wow. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No. All right. So let's say I have a Mac. I have Zencastr running in Chrome, obviously, and I have my Skype for Business account. I have my personal Skype account, and I have Firefox running with something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able, using Audio Hijack and Loopback, to record everything separately and route everything so everyone can hear each other. What happens if I want to stream live at the same time? What wrinkle does that add?
Okay, do you mean stream the audio live?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's even easier.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I use, again, from the good folks at Rogue Amoeba, there's a little application called Nicecast, which basically just streams audio out of your Mac. So it works super, super well. As long as you're not doing video, right? Anytime that you introduce video, I say you introduce machines. That's the idea. Anytime that you want to, stream out to, I get this a lot. It's like, hey, I want to put my podcast on Facebook Live and YouTube while I'm recording it. It's like, great. Go buy another computer and another camera, because that's going to be a lot better. Doing all that stuff in the box is your machine is just going to light on fire. So I find personally that if you want to just stream out live, Nicecast is beautiful. It's so easy. Again, it's a Rogue Amoeba thing, and it's just you tell it what is my sound source that you've established in Loopback, and it streams it out. That's it. That
is so cool. So I wonder why the video streaming it gets more complicated. And the other, I think it was yesterday, I was on Facebook and I was like I was on chess.com and I was about to play a game of 4-player chess, and it's like this new game they started and it's awesome. And I was like, I wish I could just stream this on Facebook. Like, why can't I just click a button and say, look, share my screen with Facebook, right? But
you can. I mean, there's great applications for it. I've used a lot of the Ustream stuff in the past to do that, and it works really well. And those are pretty nice. I mean, again, it's overkill for what most people want, because they're like, oh, okay, I'll go get that. And they look at it and the buy-in's like $500, right? And then they open it and guess what? It's a switching system. It's like a broadcast switching system. Like, what the heck am I going to do with that?
Right.
So there's always a growing need for applications that are, again, just a little simpler, a little more stripped down, and more self-evident. I just found a great app I just put on my Mac. It's called Shush. And what does it do? It's a button that mutes your mic. It's awesome, right?
Wow.
It's huge. It's beautiful. And that's all it does. It doesn't get your email, doesn't check your Facebook, doesn't post anything to Twitter. It just mutes your mic. So I think there's always a demand for more of this equipment or this software to be developed that's really purpose-built and really simple. The difference is, I think now to 5-6 years ago, is that the demand and the need is growing, because more and more people are becoming their own content creators but the tools available to them are still pretty complex.
Yeah.
You and I get it because we come from that background, and most of the people listening to this show are like, oh, it's not hard. It's like, yeah, it is. It is. Put your girlfriend in front of Zencastr and say, record a podcast. It's hard.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's not because she's your girlfriend. It's because she's not an audio engineer. I mean, this stuff just doesn't make sense to most humans.
Right.
So I think that it's important that the software developers do something that they normally don't do, and that's get it in the hands of like normies. Get real people to use this stuff and develop something that's going to help them accomplish why they're putting content on the internet in the first place.
Right. Normies. I like that.
Normies.
So now what if you have to play some sound clips or some intro music like this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like I play mine from an iPad, and actually right now my iPad is hooked right into the Mix Pre 6, and which is why when I wanted to fade the intro music, I didn't know how to do it. How do you do it? Do you do that in the box as well?
Yeah, I'll do a soundboard as well. I'll run one on the side. I stopped using soundboard, and I used a QWERTY soundboard. I think it was called QWERTY. And I liked it as well because then you can just, press your sounds on your keyboard, which worked really well. But if I'm doing it because I'm running like a morning zoo kind of show, then I'm gonna pipe in an iPad or an iPhone. It's gonna work a lot better.
Okay, yeah. Just bring an iPad or a phone or really any device into the audio interface and then route it.
Yeah, most people have a second device nowadays anyway, so it's pretty easy to do.
Totally. All right, so what is in the future for Corey Coates?
Oh man, you know what? I've been living in the jungle for like 12 years. Right. My
Costa
official
Rica.
My official place of residency has been Costa Rica, and I've loved it. Believe me, in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been living right on the beach, and it's beautiful. It's great. But I came up to Canada for a visit a little while ago, and I met a girl, and I like her, and she seems to like me. I'm not sure. It appears that way. And we're still together 2 years later, and I'm kind of in love, and I'm kind of digging Canada again. So I'm going to move back to Montreal. So that's really my next stage, is that I'm moving back slowly to Montreal to become a Canadian again. So that's kind of a weird thing. But, down the line, like I'm doing a lot of traveling, and I used to love it. I used to love getting on a plane and going places and working with clients and doing all this fun stuff. And I'm trying to do less of it now. I'm trying to bundle my travel into a week or two at a time, maybe twice or three times a year. But that's really where I'm at now. I'm doing, Podfly is just singing along beautifully. We got a really interesting thing developing in terms of how we're going to be bifurcating that business in the new year. But for me, I'm doing a lot more consulting, Chris. I'm really enjoying spending time. I'm working with everyone from, Instagram to Google to Box, that, these great companies are flying me in to spend time with them to get it right, to really sit down and figure out what is the purpose behind your podcast? What is it you want to accomplish with it? And how can we capture that content and make it into something that's going to be valuable? And that's the next step, I think. A lot of people are kind of over the hump of, let's have a podcast because we should have one because it's like a blog. That people are going past that now and going, we need something that's purpose-built and makes a lot of sense. So the future for me is really that. It's like, it's getting in people's faces and saying, hey, a capital of investment of $1,000 to set up your podcast rig is not a bad idea. And when you're a $1 billion company, it's okay. You can do that. And second is like, now before you even start recording and deciding, that I'm going to quote unquote have a podcast, step back for a second and ask yourself, what's the reason why people are going to listen to this in the first place? And those are the conversations that I'm really enjoying having now with people, because I think that I've been podcasting for 10 plus years now, but the last 4 years that I've been professionally producing podcasts for clients, the one thing that I've learned is that the last thing the universe needs is more garbage. And a lot of people are putting garbage in, not only in terms of audio quality, but the content of their show themselves. So I think I'm on kind of a little mission where I'm not really trying to grow a client base anymore. I'm trying to just make the podcasting space a little bit better by helping doing something in any way that I can with organizations and companies and individuals to make podcasting on the whole a more attractive medium to a wider audience.
That's awesome, man. I'm really happy for you. You've been involved in audio for a long time. You've been involved in podcasting for a long time, and that's just, you really do have so much to offer in terms of supporting people who don't know what they don't know, They really don't.
Right. Yeah, gosh, thanks.
So that's awesome. Well, Corey Coates, Chief Expectation Manager at Podfly. Are there a lot of expectations at Podfly?
You have no idea. We got a team of 30, and just those my team alone, I can barely manage those expectations.
Wow. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, I know for my outro music, I don't have to fade it, so I could just start it.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the room and then I'll just slowly walk in, so I get the effect of it fading.
Oh, nice one. Corey Coates. It's been great talking with you, man.
Chris, you're amazing. Thanks, bro.
All right, so we will leave it here and check out all our previous episodes of the Podcast Engineering Show. And hold on a second. See, I like doing this. I did this in a previous session as well. I go into the outro, then I stop the music, and then I continue because I want to say podfly.com. It's kind of an obvious URL, right? But I just want to make sure everyone knows that.
It is, and here's the funny thing. Can I say this real fast?
Yeah.
I know everybody's got to go because it's
no.
whatever,
we're here. We're back. We're not going anywhere.
we were podfly.net forever, because somebody decided to squat on podfly.com and was charging like $5,000-$6,000 for it, right? And you know what? We got ourselves a birthday gift and we said, you know what, squatter, here's your $6,000 for the URL. Right. So we're also podfly.com. Yay.
Cool. That's right. I did know that, but I don't know. Maybe subconsciously I knew that you got the .com. Mm-hmm.
Maybe you were the squatter. Maybe you were the one who was profiteering on our success.
Right? That is weird. I actually have a client who has a show, it's fairly well listened to show, and she just never got the URL for her show, and she went looking the other day, and it's like all of them are taken.
It's the first thing you do.
Oh, right? It's not good.
Yeah.
So podfly.com, podfly.net. You're all over social media too. And reach out to Corey if you have any questions or any thoughts about podcast production. Like I said, all our previous episodes, podcastengineeringschool.com. And it's been quite a run. The past 3 months has been amazing. All right, so we're going to finish it up. Corey, you have to yell sound great at the end, right, when I tell you. I'm going to yell it too, okay? Ready? Sound great!
Sound great!
Dude!
Sound great!
Sound great.
Yeah!
You walk away from me, and you can't play that part so well. What do you say?